everybody. Welcome to What Had Happened Was. Karyn Bryant here with Suga Rashad Evans, and we've got some MMA reactions for you. How you doing today, Suga?
I'm blessed, KB. Blessed. Just got back from a trip to Texas, so everything is, all blessed, man. It's cold here in South Florida, though. It's cold.
That's true. You know what? I actually know that because I'm going to go visit my mom next week, I think, and she's also down there in Florida, as you know. And I was like, yeah, Ma, I'm going to come a little later when it warms up.
Yeah, I mean, listen, people like, what's cold in South Florida? We had some frost on the roof today. It
Yeah,
was like at around 32 degrees out.
yeah.
So it's pretty cold.
I don't like that. I don't like. And wait, now, Suga, do you have a pet bird? Am I hearing a bird?
Yeah, he's kicking up. I don't know why he's.
Okay, so how come I didn't know this about you? I've always loved birds. Like I grew up, we had birds in my house all the time. Like, how did I not know you were a bird guy?
Yeah, well, it's actually my son. He loves birds, so he got himself a little cockatiel.
Oh, no
So
kidding.
yeah,
I had one
yeah,
too. I had a cockatiel named Duncan. It's very cute.
yeah.
Oh, okay, well, cool. Well, now we know. So listen, folks, today on What Had Happened Was we're going to get into some things from UFC 325. So we're going to talk about Volk. We are going to talk about Benoit Saint-Denis, and we are also going to talk about Mauricio Ruffy. And then we'll also get into some mishaps that happened with some boxing and some hair over the weekend, Sugar. Because that was kind of hilarious. But before we get into that, I did make an announcement on Instagram the other day that I am not going back to the desk at UFC, for the Paramount era. So that was, kind of a bummer. I've known this for a little while, but finally, just let people know. But I want to say thank you to everybody that, left me comments, and there was just a lot of really positive feedback and just really nice stuff from fighters and from fans, and it feels very good to hear that because yeah, it just feels very good. So thank you to all that. And as you can see right here, I didn't stop talking about MMA.
Yeah, KB, one thing I can say is that you're loved by the fans. They really loved you, and as somebody who worked with you for 14 years, it's been amazing because you made the show easy. You know what I'm saying? Like prep work, all of it was
Yeah.
so much easier when you were on the desk. And I used to always get impressed with just how you flow and you just put it together, put the show together, on the fly on the post show. And I was just it was always impressive to watch you. You're a consummate professional.
Well, thank you, Sugar. And as you know, I love working with you. So that's why we're still doing this.
Boom.
Okay, so let's get into it. Alexander Volkanovski. And still, I mean, listen, once again, this man beat Diego Lopes. I don't know if Volk can be stopped. Rashad, he now ties Jose Aldo for the most featherweight title fight wins with 8.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, he's been long said to be the best at featherweight, but I think
Uh-huh.
he really solidified his position because when you're able to turn back the time and beat a guy like Diego Lopez, who's got power, he's got speed, he's got all the things that you would expect out of a young champion, the hunger, the drive, all of those things. But what I seen out of Volk on Saturday was just a master class and understanding of how to be uh, the how to control the range
Hmm.
and beat a taller fighter. You know, he did such a good job of moving on the outside, but then when he was in, he was able to get off first, and
Hmm.
really he left Diego Lopez really frustrated. His game plan was a little bit different as far
Yeah.
as where he was moving and exiting from his first fight. This fight, he was circling more to the power side. His last
Hmm.
fight, he was exiting more to the weak side. But out of it all, I mean, he's a force to be reckoned with still. And even Diego Lopez had to give it up to him because he knew he was just beat. And and the thing about it was like he didn't even get Diego didn't get demoralized like sometimes you see when people give into the frustration. He was just like he just knew he was beat, and he fought all the way through. He had some moments in the fight, but it just wasn't enough.
It's so interesting because Volk just controlled everything, and it was weird. I
Yeah,
was watching this with a friend of mine who I actually really like watching MMA with casuals sometimes because you can explain some things or just see it from fresh eyeballs, right? And so
yeah.
we're watching this fight, and as before it even came, he came out. I gave her the whole backstory on who Volk is anyway, and we'll get into more of that in a second. But I was just like, this dude is the man. Like he's the man, right? And I was explaining it to everything, but then I was like, but Diego's this and Diego's that, and he's
Yeah.
this and he's here because of that, and this is gonna happen, and we don't know. But as we're watching it, she's sort of watching it, and it was almost like not who's winning, but it was almost just like he was so in control the whole time, to the point where you didn't really feel like Volk was threatened so much in it.
Right.
And and I was like, well, yeah, this is he's just very good. Like I don't know how to explain it to you, like why it didn't seem like more is happening, because things were happening, but it was like Volk's just so in command of this that he's making it look easier than it actually is. This is not easy.
Yeah, he really made Lopez skip to his luge. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
the way, only way to it. You know, one thing that I really was impressed with, like I said before, he controlled the range, but it's like
Hmm.
how he controlled the range. When you're the taller fighter and someone smaller on the outside, you know they have to get inside because you know they're the shorter guy.
Hmm.
So you have to give them some kind of barrier, something, some kind of bridge for them to cross,
Hmm.
and or you have to go first. And John Jones does a really good job of that. He fights really good long. He gives you his long arm. He leaves it extended. He kind of pumps it out there.
Hmm.
He makes you look at that long arm first. And then if you start to come in, he's going to move out of the way. And you're really going to hit most of his arms whenever you come inside. So he's really good at doing that. And he was always first. He's making sure he's first. He's making sure you think defense first. When you go against a guy who's smaller than you, you got to make them think defense first, because if you're letting them get off first, then you're playing reaction and they're short, or they may come in and get the hit and then get out before you can even get a chance. And then you got to hope to hit them on the way out.
Well, it's so interesting because when you look at the body type, you would think, okay, with Diego with these long limbs, that he's going to be able to be the one landing at range, but that's not what
Yeah.
happened.
Nah, he didn't go first, and that was the biggest problem. He has to go first to get the reaction. Like if he does a fake, he's going to get the reaction. He's going to know where Volk is going to move. Now he can plan and say, okay, I'm going to throw my combination, start it here, but end it where he's going to be at. And he just didn't do that enough. He did it at moments, but he didn't do it enough to really matter because Volk was just so much in control.
So how do you beat Volk? I'm not exactly sure yet. We're not totally sure who could be next for him, but
Yeah.
how do you beat him then? I mean, we've seen
Um,
him get beaten before, but it's been a
yeah.
minute.
It has been a minute, I mean, the way you got to beat Volk is, the way that he beats people. You have to be
Mhm.
able to kind of mimic his style, and be able to fight a well-rounded fight where you're fighting, you go in the high and the low. You're punching up high, then you're challenging something for a takedown, but you're not getting caught on a takedown. You're taking it as a flow, and you look for those opportunistic punches in between the transitions. And I feel like that's what Diego needed to do. He needed to look for more transitional offense, meaning he was just going to put himself into a scrambling situation where it's 50-50, but then he was looking to land the strikes on that transition.
Mhm. Yeah, we've talked about that before. Sometimes those little areas where you can find your moments, right, in between
Yeah.
things.
Yep, yep. And that's where the biggest gains are going to be made on that level where everybody's so good. It's a transitional offense. And you see the people who are champions for a long time, they really mastered that. Volk has mastered that. You've seen it many times in the fight where he was able to be the one who won the transitional offensive exchanges.
Mhm. Well, interestingly enough, Sugar, since we're talking about him, I'll get into it now because for me, when we're talking about who was in K Beast mode for UFC 325, for me, it is absolutely this man, Mr. Volkanovski. Because, like, look, the dude. He's good at everything, right? Like as I
Yeah.
was telling you, I watched this with a friend of mine who really doesn't know that much about MMA. So as I'm explaining it, I'm like, okay, so not only is he the champ, and he's been the champ for a long time, and he was the champ, then he came back and he won it again. So he's this old, but also he's an incredible cook. But oh, have you seen him act? And oh, have you seen? I'm like I'm mad. Like I think I'm just mad and jealous of Volk. That I'm like I want to be a hater because he's like how you good at all of it and likable too. Like you're not even cocky about it. Like you're not even a dick. Like you're cool. Like what? I don't know, man. Like
Yeah,
I
I mean,
just
look, I mean,
like
yeah.
he
He He's got it all, man. He's got the total package, and he's fully comfortable in himself, and you see that
Yes.
in all facets of his life, and that's what that's what's really making him be able to achieve this next level of success, because it is next level when you're as old as Volk is, and you've had the story that he's had, and then now you're continuing to win and turn back these young bulls that are trying to get your title.
Yeah, and I forget who shared it, but somebody posted over the weekend a picture of Volk and like a bunch of the guys from like back in the day, like not even from like the early days after he was a rugby player, but transitioning into fighting and just seeing him with the whole squad, all young and everything. You're like, legend, legend, killer, legend. Like, it's cool. I don't know, man. So Volk's the man. He's just the man.
I mean, listen, it takes a lot of stamina to be able to do what he does. I mean, I'm talking about career stamina, because
Right.
there's the ebbs and flows of being in a career. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, but it's when you're in those down moments that truly breaks you as a competitor, and to not be broken as a competitor, to reinvent the game, and to stay hungry, to be able to turn back those guys who's never had it, who you got to match that hunger. There's nothing worse than going into the cage and you look across the cage and you just like, damn, he just wants it more than me. You feel it.
Right.
You feel it. So yeah, to do that, I mean, hats off to Volk.
Yeah, and your bird agrees
Is
with
is
you.
is he getting too crazy? I might have to let
No,
him
it's
out.
cute. Like I said, I'm a bird
Okay.
lover. I'm a fan, so you're not gonna bother me with it. But it's cute. No, but I
Yeah.
100% agree with you that it's like who wants it more, and
Yeah.
Volk obviously still has so much hunger for it. But
Hold on, he
when
about to
we're
get loud. Let me get him real quick. Hold on one
are
second.
you sure? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
let me grab him real quick.
It's so cute. I love it. So yeah, folks, I come from a bird family. So, mom, who of course I'm sure is watching this. So we grew up. We've had birds all our life. We've had different parrots and African greys and cockatiels. I don't know that we ever had a cockatoo, but we had mynah birds. All kinds of stuff, and yeah, the birds are fun. I've had little finches, everything. So yeah, I love it. No, it's look at there he is.
All
Hi,
right.
little guy. I love it. That's
So
so cute. That's like Duncan, who I used to have. Oh, that's so
yeah,
sweet.
he would just keep on going if I didn't grab
I
him.
love it. So, what's his name?
His name is Angelo.
Oh, yeah, Angelo. I love
Yeah,
it. Angelo.
Angelo.
So cute. So cute. Well, listen, we were talking about when you enter the octagon and you're standing there across the octagon and you want to see who wants it more. And I got to tell you, this man, Benoit Saint-Denis, is literally the definition of a badass. And he's going against a man who is also the definition of a badass in
Yeah.
Dan Hooker. This fight, I loved this fight, but it also broke my heart because I hated to see either of these guys lose, and especially with Dan Hooker coming in quickly after that turnaround with Arman Sarukian and
Yeah.
wanting to get in there, fight, closer to home and all that, and has such a will to fight and such a desire and so much of all the qualities that we want in a fighter. Both of them do. But in
Yeah.
this case, it's just that Benoit, being more well rounded, just has more answers to Dan's questions, it feels like, right? And that Dan just has that hole, being the ground game, that is too glaring of a hole for him to be competing at these high levels and beating guys who know how to take advantage of that hole.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with Dan, I mean, it gets no tougher than that. His mindset and his ability to just, put himself in that position to
Hmm.
continue to fight no matter what the situation, no matter what the circumstance present, you're going to get a fight out of Dan Hooker. But Benoit Saint Denis really showed something in that fight to me, because he did have his frustrated moments. Dan Hooker did a really good job of showing some really good defensive wrestling positions where he was able to stuff a lot of those shots, and Benoit just kept at it and really kept with his game plan, but then eventually found a finish. And I'm really seeing a turn and Benoit Saint Denis. Like he
Hmm.
was one of those guys who was really had a lot of potential to be one of the top guys, but then he had a couple fights where he didn't really break through. But I feel
Hmm.
like in his last few fights, his last 3 fights, to be exact, he's really broken through, and now you're starting to really see him to really step into that belief that we all had when we seen the flashes of greatness in him early out.
Well, I agree with you. And when Benoit came on the scene, over in Paris and all the stuff about him being the paratrooper and everything, it was so great. And his style of fighting is all gas, no brakes, right? Which we love
All
about him.
gas. Yeah.
But that ended up, yeah, working against him. So when we look at his last few fights, so to your point, it was the loss to Renato Moicano. That was a little
Yeah.
bump in the road for him where everybody was like, oh, I don't know, maybe Benoit's not the guy, right? Maybe we rushed him, maybe this, maybe that. And it
Yeah.
was just that, Renato Moicano is a badass. So he lost that fight. But then after that, took some time off, came back. He submitted Prepolek. And that was also one of those things where I forget who he was supposed to fight. So Prepolek came in on shorter notice. But yeah, Benoit got back on track with that one. But then he submitted Mauricio Ruffy, who we're going to get to in a second. Then when he knocked out my boy, Benil Dariush, and I was like,
Benil.
oh no. Like, so it was one of those things where, like I said, I've been a Benoit fan. But
Yeah.
then when you beat my boy, Benil, I was like, well, now I don't know if I like you so much. You know what I mean? But I was like,
Yeah.
but I see where you're going, Mr. Saint-Denis, and I appreciate your skill, tip of the hat. But you're doing it to my dudes now, and I don't like that. But yeah, he was able to reset and do something either mentally, physically, or both to get himself in this position. And I do want to put this back here because hold on a second, what was I going to say? So he did with this, and I wanted this for illumination here because he landed 67 significant ground strikes versus Dan Hooker. That's now the third most we've ever seen in a lightweight bout. Okay, so he also now ties Sam Patterson and Walter Walker with the longest active finish streak, which is 4. So yeah, Benoit Saint-Denis is on a tear. I forget, who did he call out after, or did he just say that he needs a title shot? I believe he was just trying to say that he needed to get a title shot after this.
Yeah.
He's making an argument. I mean, Ruffy, Dariush, and now beating Hooker.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, he's definitely proven himself, and he's shown that he has the consistency and kind of figured out that next level of the game, because that's truly what I look for in a fighter when I think that they're ready to become champion. Have they mastered their style? We all got our different styles, we all got our different skills, we all learn the X's and O's, but it's how do you put it all together to make your salad?
I don't want to make a tossed salad joke, but whatever he's done, he's sweet green in that thing or whatever. Because yeah, he got the TKO at 4 minutes and 45 seconds of round 2. And I guess on the flip side of this, Suga, my heart breaks for a guy like Dan Hooker, who, and again, watching this with my friend, she was like, oh. Because Dan is very appealing to a certain kind of fan. He a hottie and he a baddie, like for people who like that look, right? And then the fact that he comes with so much aggression and throws all the F's to the wind, you know what I mean? Gives none in there.
I know.
And that's so likable because you get that sense from Dan as a person that no matter what he's doing in his life, like he's going all in. And when you see the different packages that, that we used to run at work, like the backstory with his family and his kids, and how humble he is. And I don't know, there's just, to me, he has so much about him that's just so right. He has all the raw materials that I want in a fighter when I put them together. And now I'm just like, gosh, darn it. Like, fix that ground stuff. Like, just get, it's just hard. It's hard to see because people are just going to try to keep doing that to him. And
but you know what though? It's like, my hat's off to Dan Hooker, because it's not easy to fight when you've been the nail so many times. And by that I mean, at some point, you're always fighting for something, right? You're fighting to be champion. You're fighting for something, and everybody's fighting. The reason why they do it is a little bit different, but at the end of the day, when you're trying to be the top, it's always to be champion. But then when you know that you're not going to be champion, or just you've been beaten by some of the best guys in the weight class, and you just like, man, now I got to find a new thing that makes me different. You kind of just be like, you know what, I'm just going to be the toughest son of a bitch out there. And it looks like Dan Henderson has really just grabbed onto that mindset. Like, yo, you know what? No matter who I fight, I don't care. I may never fight for a title, but these motherfuckers going to feel me. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you got to have sometimes. So that's what I love about Dan, is the fact that he's got that mindset. Like, yo, you know what? Y'all going to feel me no matter what.
I agree with you. I love it. I totally agree with you on that. And it's just like he's just going to make it really, really hard for everybody. He's going to be that miserable stepping stone or gatekeeper if that's what he
Yeah.
becomes. And I mean that in the most respectful way, just the way you framed it up there too. Like, yeah, if he's the guy that you gotta beat him to try to be on your way to be the guy, well then yeah, good luck. Because
Good luck.
you're not gonna get out of it without a couple of bumps and bruises. Like he definitely doesn't make it easier on anybody. But yeah, congrats to Benoit Saint-Denis. Once again, yeah, 67 significant ground strikes landed, third most in a UFC lightweight bout. So but you know what, Sugar, when we are moving along and when we were talking about, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Wait, sorry. Let me, okay, you know what, KB, I'm new to being the technical person
The
on this
DJ.
as well. But I want to get into this because let me try this again, Karen. Let me try this again. Because it's time for Sugar Sweets. Because we're talking about the Coco, that featured fight between Mauricio Hoofy and Mr.
Fiziev.
Rafael Fiziev and Suga. I know you thought this fight was sweet. I know there was a lot about this that you liked. Let me see. What was it specifically that you loved when you were watching this man, Mauricio Hoofy, going to work on Rafael Fiziev?
Well, first of all, I love the work that Fiziev was doing. He did a really good job of just making Hoofy fight in his spaces. You know, he had him against a cage, had him walking that black line, and he had him very reactive. But Hoofy did a really good job because he didn't panic. He didn't get himself overextended. He didn't feel like he needed to come out of himself. What he did was he found the perfect chance to strike like a cobra and land that nasty right hand with a lot of power that started the whole downfall of events that ended the fight for Fiziev. I mean, listen, you know, Hoofy coming back from his last fight against Saint-Denis, he lost that fight, and having to deal with that, you know, the embarrassment of not losing, but just getting submitted. You know what I'm saying? All the hype gets gone, and you're kind of traumatized a bit when you lose like that because you have so much belief in yourself, and when that gets shattered by a loss, that hurts more than anything. So to come back and to fight the way he did was absolutely amazing, because there was moments in that fight where he could have been like, oh man, it's not going the way that I thought. This guy's a lot tougher than I thought, because Fiziev was buttoned up, he was tight, he was landing some really good shots, and the volume of Fiziev was kind of something that looked to be kind of giving Hoofy a problem, but Hoofy remained composed, and then he found the opportunity to land that big shot.
Well, and it's so interesting too because like you just said, there was that sting of having lost to Benoit Saint-Denis on the same card as you there. You're seeing the guy walking around backstage and all
Yeah.
that. And at the time when that happened,
Yeah.
remember, you know, the fighting nerds, everybody was like, fighting nerds, they're this, they're this. But then Hoofy lost, and then Pratis lost, and then Baha'i, and everyone is like, oh, well, I guess we were wrong. You know what I mean? But then Jean Silva won again, Hoofy won again, you know, and so it's one of those things where yeah, they are proving that fighting nerds team can recalibrate, right? They can fix themselves after a little bit of a stumble. But Hoofy did seem just like you said, like in control of the
Yeah.
situation when it came time to do the finish. So yeah, there was this one, and then he had him like really struggling. Wait, sorry, he had him. Yeah, here we go. He had him. So once he landed that little shot, right? Then he was working at him on the road. Fiziev gets up, and then Hoofy comes just back after him and just goes in for the kill. And what I loved about this too was the way that Fiziev responded to this as well. Like he was just like in his socials after, he's just like, I got my ass kicked. You know, he's like, I don't know what to say about it. He's just like, I just got my ass kicked. And the thing again, watching this fight, setting this fight up for my friend, I was like, Fiziev, like I'm a Fiziev fan, right? And
Yeah.
again, I have nothing against Hoofy, but like I like Fiziev. I was like, he's a tank. He's this. He's so fun to watch. Like I told her the backstory of like he's this, he's that. Then he lost, and he got to have his comeback win in Azerbaijan, and it felt so good. And like she could
Yeah.
see, like you can see the intensity in him too. And she was just like, oh yeah, like I like this dude too. And so when I see a guy like Fiziev being the nail, you're like, what is happening? How good is
Yeah.
Hoofy then? If Fiziev is the nail like that tonight?
I mean, listen, I train with Fiziev. I've seen him in the gym.
Yeah.
I not really train with him, but
Right.
I've seen him in the gym over at Kill Cliff quite a bit, and I watch him train. And he's one of those guys that you see always going hard,
Right.
never taking a backward step, having all kinds of fresh guys rotating on him,
Mhm.
and he remains at a high skill level. He doesn't get sloppy in his technique. So he's got this dog in him, and I know he can scrap, and I know how badass he is.
Yeah.
And I was pulling for him, but just to see how Hoofy was able to make the adjustments,
Mhm.
and he really, one thing about Hoofy is the fact that he's got such a creative striking style,
Mhm.
and sometimes I feel like him being a little too creative in his striking style doesn't open up enough of just him just being technically sound, shooting the X's and O's. And we've seen that in this fight. There was moments of him doing the freaky,
Mhm.
the creative stuff,
Right.
but it was more of just a countering with fundamental technique that won him this fight. And to see him land that big shot on my boy, I was like, that's pretty impressive, because he's got some power. And when you got that kind of power and you got that kind of creativity, you are a dangerous fighter.
100%. And that was the thing when I saw like this scene to me of like the ref about to rush in, Fiziev
Oh
like
man.
I was like, what and kind of like what we were talking about before with Diego not necessarily using it. Like I do feel like Hoofy understands how long his arms are, how long
Right.
his legs are. Like I do
Yep.
feel like he understands the advantages he has with his build.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like that right hand, he went first, and that's why he was able
Hmm.
to land it. But once he had him hurt, he had Fiziev drunk driving, and it was bad after that. He kind of gathered himself in a little bit, and it looked as if like he was gonna be able to grab a leg or something to
Hmm.
make it through the round, but it was just too much damage.
Yeah, it was too much damage. So congratulations to him. But we talk about this a lot though, Sugar. The combination of the technical skill and the flair, because Hoofy
Yeah,
did have that flair against our boy King Green, and that knockout
yeah,
was spectacular. So it's like when you find that perfect marriage of flair and technique and being able to let yourself go, but you don't go so far that you lose the plot, right? Like
right.
he's got it all together.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, being able to keep it together where you don't lose the plot. Because sometimes you can get too caught up in the antics. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? You get a little too cute for your own good, and that's when you get in trouble with it.
Yeah. Hey, okay, so speaking of well, I don't this was not too cute. This was the opposite of too cute. Sugar, your boy.
Oh boy, big baby,
Can you
big
explain
baby.
what is happening? No, what had happened was now not what had happened was this man entered a boxing ring with a badly glued on tube, and it went from bad to worse. Sugar.
Well, first of all, it wasn't badly glued on. It was just glued on. Like first, you're not supposed to fight with those things. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no glue rated for that kind of sweat. But there's nothing that's rated for that. So
Right.
he was on uncharted waters. But at that point, he kind of backed himself in a corner because he's been seen with it, with that hair. So
Right.
what do, right? You
Right.
can't just go into the fight and just like all of a sudden it's gone, but then after the fight, it's back on again. That the gig would be up. You know what I'm saying? So he had to really just go with it. And when he got caught with those big shots, the convertible top came off, man.
Dude, it is so unbelievably funny. Like what are we actually like
Oh
it
man.
dude. And it's so, and didn't he toss, and then I saw like he tossed it into the crowd or something, right? And I forget, there was like some woman had it on or whatever, and I'm like, okay, that is like that, like,
He he had one or two choices. He either could have did what he did, or he could have just ran out the ring and just been like, "Yeah, I'm done."
right,
He could that could have been it for him because, honestly, up until that point, he was kind of losing that fight up until
yeah,
that point. That was the turning point for him in that fight that really make him change some things up and do something a little bit differently. Because at that point, he's like, you know what, I can't get beat, and at the
right.
same time, have the social media kill me, but my top coming off, man.
For sure, for sure. So I will. Well, it brings up a couple of things, but it is interesting, like how many fighters over the last few years, have gotten the hair plugs. I don't know if it's like a sponsor came
Yeah.
into the UFC or whatever and was like, "Hey, we'll do this for you." And you see a lot of guys going out there with their fresh plugs, and maybe they did it too soon to the fight, and it got ruined. But like, it does beg the question, Suga, what was the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to you inside the octagon?
Oh man, the most embarrassing thing. I can't even. Man, I really haven't had those moments, to be
Good.
honest. I mean, one of the most embarrassing things that has happened to me, I guess, was, when I fought Brad Imes. I peed myself, but nobody really knew that.
Right.
It was just an embarrassing thing for me, but there was
Yeah.
nothing that was just like that I had like just that cringe effect where everybody would be able to see. But I
Right.
mean, I couldn't. I don't know if I would have been able to handle it like Big Baby being out there and just my whole hairpiece come off,
Yeah.
because it's really your worst fear is just kind of being exposed. Because when you got a hair issue, there's nobody more sensitive about the hair issue than you. You know the hair issue. Somebody's looking at you, and you feel like they're looking a little too high. You like, damn, they're looking at my hair issue. You feel it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So for him to have that all just be undone in a second is like, oh my, it's the worst nightmare of all time. But I think that he really can turn this into something. I'm saying
Yeah.
he probably can get some hair sponsors. He probably can go to Turkey now, get the whole thing done if he wanted to. But I mean, shoot. I mean, look, I had some issues where I was thinning out a little bit up here and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And as having locks, I'm just like, dang, I don't know. Like, because I'll look at Stevie Wonder and I'm just like,
Right.
man, I don't know how Stevie Wonder kept it so long. But I'm
Well,
to
he
the
can't
point
tell.
now,
He can't see. He can't see. He
you
does.
can't see, but I'm to the point now where I kept mine for so long. I think I might just ride it out like Stevie when it gets. I think my joint gonna have to be back here,
Back
like
here, right, right, right.
yeah. Hey, I'm about to make a new dress style. If my stuff come way out, I'm not shaving it, all right? And there's nobody who's
Yes.
gonna shame. I'm not gonna be shamed into shaving it. I'm not, okay? Okay, so I'm rolling with it.
That's right. And we are here to support you. I feel you. We're not gonna, but because you got, I will say this. I feel like I actually like bald guys, right? So I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of guys are overcompensating with the hair stuff when in fact a lot of us women don't really mind you being bald. Now, granted, some people don't have the shape head for it, and some people look better than others. But it has never been a deal breaker for me. Let's just put it that way. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, oh, it's fun to watch the dude struggle with vanity a little bit because we women do all the time. And so it's nice to have that like come back around on you guys a little bit. But like, and so when you guys are all worried about like painting in the hairline, and when people call
Oh
you on
yeah.
painting in the hairline, it's kind of
Oh.
like with girls with their weave or their wig, if the edges are showing or whatever. And this is all real, obviously, but like it is funny
Yeah.
to see that stuff sometimes when the terms get tabled on you guys, sugar.
Well, I've been there. I've painted in mine a little bit too, so here and there,
Right.
it happens, KB. But
It
it's
does.
just you know what it is. It's just it's just making friends with the fact that you're getting old. You're getting old, and aging gracefully is a hard thing. It's a
Right.
lot. It sounds a lot easier than it is, but when you're at that age and you starting to have your body change and you
Hmm.
starting to not look the way you used to, you do drastic things in order to get it back.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, and I will say so yeah, because you used to wear the badonkadonks and you always stayed in the badonkadonks, right? Or did you
Yeah.
change to like
I changed.
eventually? Yeah.
Yeah, I changed a little
Yeah.
bit. I changed a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, because like I would say, because with the girls and the badonkadonks, like the possibility for embarrassing things to happen in the octagon, and we've seen sometimes, because I'm always like, no man, bike short, like long bike shorts or something, there's too much exposure possibility, there's too much like
I mean, tell that to Mackenzie Dern. She don't care. She
yeah. And the cameraman love it.
hey, she letting them cakes out.
She let them cake.
It's cake season.
Fusion. She and what Norma, every time Norma Desmond, Dumont, everybody's like,
I can't even watch this Mackenzie fight with my wife in the room. I'm like, I gotta. I'm like, oh man.
well, to that point though, that is why I agree with people with the whole thing when she and Brian went out for the Golden Globes or whatever. Like, you have two of the most fine ass people in the UFC, and then why did you have them go out in sweatsuits and warm up suits?
Right.
Like, she's stunning, he's fine. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
that didn't sell people. Like, have her not or have her go out in her actual fight outfit and have them cakes out there on display. And
had them cakes out there.
But anyway, I love the fact that Mackenzie's also just a really sweet girl. So let's just stop objectifying her for a second and remind everybody what a badass fighter she is and what a great girl.
Right.
But yeah, well, what had happened was a lot of stuff at 325. So, yeah, we'll see who's next. I know Ruffy was, I guess, trying to say he wouldn't mind fighting Casablanca. He wants to fight at the White House and stuff. So I don't know what's next for Ruffy, but yeah, that was a good turnaround for him after Benoit Saint-Denis. And so yeah, the lightweight. We've always known lightweight is good, right? So Ruffy turning things back around, Benoit Saint-Denis making a claim, and honestly, when we talk about like, give France a chance, I guess, right? Because that's such a great market. And if Benoit did get a shot at a title, I mean, there are worse things that could happen.
I'm telling you, I mean, that's pretty much a untapped market. I mean, and then you got both of those guys as far as it's Benoit Saint-Denis, and you still got Gon, who's looked good in his last fight. I mean, Gon don't look like he looked like you have two guys who can carry France right now.
Yeah, it's very nice. Well, and speaking of Gon, I should have queued it up here. I did an interview with Julius Walker, who is fighting this coming weekend. He's fighting Dustin Jacoby at UFC Vegas 113. And Julius, Juicebox used to play basketball in college. And so we did this whole thing where he drafts who he would put on his UFC basketball team. And of course, Cyril is on there. So people look for the clip, and I'll put a link up for it here. But Julius, yeah, I put it out as a short as well. Of who's on his team, but it's pretty funny. So yeah, I talked to Julius for this coming weekend, and also Mario Bautista, who is the main event.
Nice.
And that one against Vinicius Oliveira. So that one should be a scrap, like two smaller dudes just throwing down, slinging punches and stuff. So it should be a lot of fun. But yeah, France is a heck of a market, and those Parisian shows are always really, really incredible. So listen, so yeah, what happened was, Suga, for the folks who don't know, last week we were doing this and we were talking about 324, and I didn't put it out as one long show. I actually sort of split it up into the different fight topics. This time I'll put it out all as one, and probably break up some clips as well. But Suga, for folks who don't know, you and I, we should get together. We'll talk about fights after they happen, and sometimes maybe we'll jump on if fight announcements are worthy of reacting to and stuff like that. But people could leave us questions that we could maybe try to answer on the next time.
Absolutely. We're gonna definitely make this a regular thing. I enjoy it. Like I said, working with you has always been a pleasure of mine, and talking about MMA is a passion of mine. So whenever those two things can intersect, then let's do it.
Awesome. All right, Suga. So where can people find you on social media?
Find me at Suga Rashad Evans on IG, and you hit me up, I'll answer.
Awesome. For me on Threads and IG, it's at KB Heat, and on YouTube, you want to hit subscribe on the at Karyn Bryant channel. I also have a KB2 channel for my other stuff, which is pop culture, music stuff. I'm building that channel up and everything. And Suga, I have a little more time. I'm not as busy on my weekends as I used to be, so I will be building that channel up as well. But my MMA channel here that we're on has like 4,000 clips. It has stuff from all the way back in 2010, 12, I don't know, tons of stuff. So if people have just found this channel now, look around. There's a ton of stuff. And there's old stuff with you there, Sugar. There's a lot of old clips with
Absolutely.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Well, that is what had happened was after UFC 325. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you. And Sugar, always awesome seeing you. Let your little birdie know that I had a great time.
Come on, Angelo. Say bye. Annoying everybody with those tweets.
Bye, Angelo. All right, Sugar. I'll see you later.
All right, peace.